Today's date is the 5th of December 2013. My name is Ben Field and this interview is for Ming-ai London Institute British Chinese Workforce Heritage Project. Could I begin by asking your name?
Eddie Chen.
And where were you born?
In Hong Kong. I would say in Kowloon, one of the hospitals in Kowloon.
And could you tell me a little bit about your family?
My parents' family, you mean not my family now or my
Either of them? Both?
I'll talk about my family then. I obviously have a mum and dad, just like most children, and I have one half sister and one half brother, and then 3 other siblings which are directly related to me. So the reason behind that is my mother remarried. So I have a half brother and a half elder sister, and then I have 2 brothers and a sister.
And so whereabouts are you in the order of brothers and sisters?
In terms of my dad, I'm the eldest, but in terms of my mum, I'm the 3rd.
And what work did your mother and father do?
My mother was a housewife. Obviously, she's retired now and she doesn't do very much these days. But my dad was an engineer working for the government in Hong Kong.
And what education do you have?
I got a bachelor degree, honours degree in civil and structural engineer, which is a combined engineering degree, and also an MBA.
And whenabouts did you come to the UK?
Came to the UK in August 1971.
And what was it that made that possible?
Just because then I decided to come overseas to study, to further my education. And my father then said to me, okay, if you want to go to UK, we will do our best to support you. And then here I am. And it came more than 40 years ago now. It's exactly 42 years ago.
So you came over here for education?
For education. In those days, it was called GCE, not GCSE. GCE O-levels. Yeah? But I think sometimes later they combined the GCE and CSE, hence now these days everyone call that level as GCSE.
And then you went on to do your
A-level, and then I took a gap year and worked as a lab technician before I went to Sheffield University.
And how did you find Sheffield?
Excellent place, I love it. I mean, in those days, there are very few people actually went to university. I mean, not like these days. Lots of youngsters do go to university. I think that only what they call top 2% of the students went onto university, and then about 2-3% went to polytechnics.
And what other jobs did you have before starting at the Chinese National Healthy Living Centre?
As an engineer. So I am a double charter engineer, chartered in civil engineering and chartered in structural engineering.
And whereabouts was the job?
Mainly UK based, but then when I was promoted to become a director of the international arm of a British consultancy company, then I had to travel all over the world and set up joint venture company, set up branches in different parts of the world, and also developing new infrastructure development project in different parts of the world as well.
So what was it that led you to transition from civil engineering to...
I think it's something that I didn't actually plan for. I mean, my middle son was unfortunately very ill when he was 5 years old. He had developed cancerous brain tumor, and because in those days I used to go overseas, I mean spending 5 to 6 months every year in different parts of the world, and when I said it to my company that I'm no longer being able to travel like this because of my son's illness and so on, because even after the surgery, he had to go through radiotherapy, chemotherapy and everything. So, and also I had to also take him to hospital for checkup. So then we parted. But even after we parted company, the other engineering company said to me, Eddie, I mean, all your experience, in overseas country, we can't afford to keep you in this country. So one day I looked at the Guardian newspaper in the community recruitment section. I saw this opportunity because the Chinese National Healthy Living Center then wanted a director to come in to help them to turn the organization to be a truly national one. So I applied and I got the job. And that's year 2000, exactly.
You said you saw it in the community section. Were you specifically looking for that?
No, I was looking for basically any jobs. As I said to you, I mean, when I talked to engineering company, they all said, Eddie, it's no good because you know so many people in different parts of the world, particularly in the Far East and Asia and China, because I actually set up the first Sino-British joint venture consultancy company in China. And this is in the early 1990s. That we're talking about many, many years ago, before China even has its own expressway network. So they said, we can't afford to just keep you there. So keep you in the UK to do design work and maybe construction supervision. So I said, okay, in that case, I'll look for something else. And I found this job. I thought it was worthwhile doing. And I applied. And they interviewed me, obviously they interviewed more than just me, a few people. And the trustee of the Chinese National Healthy Living Center decided to gave me a chance. They took a risk as well, obviously. I had no community working experience before that time. And I integrated myself into the community quite well. Yeah.
So do you think there's anything from your past experience that kind of helped?
I think a lot related, particularly on the project management side. My experience on developing good relationship with people, and the looking at finance, particularly on the financial area, how to manage the finance properly, looking at cash flow, the income and expenditure, and how to control that helps me a lot. And on the top of that, I actually got an MBA degree, and the degree itself, plus my experience on project management, helped me to actually expand the Healthy Living Center.
So you haven't been involved in any other centres like this before?
No.
Or any?
So August 2000 was the first time I moved into the community center or the center organization that helped the community. Yeah.
You didn't have any interaction with maybe Chinese community groups or population in Sheffield or anywhere else you lived?
Well, before I joined the center.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, even when I was working as an engineer, my head office then was very near Chinatown. Obviously, I go and see the Chinese community center people and make quite a few friends there. Yes. In that sense, I actually been in touch with some of the community centers workers, but I have no experience of how to run a community center.
So, how long has this centre been established for then?
Since 1987, so counting back just over 26 years ago.
And have there been any significant changes throughout the history of the centre?
I think the people that we serve change a lot. When I first joined, I would say that about 90% of the people who come and use our centres were Cantonese speaking people. But these days, I would say 50-50 now. 50% of our centre users speaks Mandarin, and they are new migrants from China. When I said new migrants, some of them are even being labelled as irregular migrant in these days, and they don't really have any status. They come to our centre and seek help because they can't get the help from anybody else except from us. Because we probably is the only national centre, Chinese national centre, that deal with health alone, but most community centres are generalists, and we can consider ourselves as specialists in that sense.
When you say irregular migrants, do you mean people?
Illegal migrants.
Yeah.
But these days, the government do not like to use the word illegal migrants. So irregular migrant is the term being used all the time now.
And you're happy to kind of help them out?
We help them, yes. I mean, obviously, we can't provide them with every single services. Like, for instance, there's something that we can't treat them. What we do is to direct them or guide them to see to an A&E in the local hospital, and so on.
And actually, you mentioned that when you came, you helped oversee an expansion in the centre.
Yes. When I joined, the centre was very much a London-based centre. There were only two, 3 staff working in it. But then, after I joined the centre in August 2000, I set up a Manchester office, which looked after northern part of England, and then set up a Midlands office in Birmingham.
And do you have any oversight over those offices?
Yes, we although had a senior coordinator that managed those 2 offices, but as director of the Chinese National Health Relief Centre, I had to obviously oversee everything on all the operations there, the overall operation. Obviously, the detailed component will be rely on the local managers. But before I set the offices up, before we employ the staff for the offices, I had to develop the relationship in the Midlands as well as in the north part of England.
And how are those centres running today?
Unfortunately, that the money from the big lottery ran out in May 2005, and we were reluctantly have to close those 2 offices. These days, we consolidate ourselves back to London, and we do outreach work now. So if whoever wants us to do something for them, we will send a team over. Now we cover Scotland as well as Northern Ireland. So if say Belfast City Council want us to help them to set up some training for the local Chinese chef to produce healthy option meals for their own population, we would do that. So we sent a team of 6 people over to Belfast to train the chef to produce healthy option meals. The reason for that is the Irish people love eating takeaway food restaurant meals, and the average family in Ireland eat averaging 5 times of takeaway restaurant meals per week, and Chinese takeaway meal is the most popular meal there. So when they heard about our training and producing healthy meals, then they asked us to go there to train the chef.
And what other services does the centre provide then?
Quite a lot, because we look at health is holistic. We always improve health in a holistic way. We don't just say, if you're ill, come and see us. So apart from the treatment of illnesses, curing of disease and so on, we also provide people with knowledge or awareness of how to prevent them to get ill, make people more aware of what healthy lifestyle is. So if they adapt a healthier lifestyle, the health will automatically improve. So there are lots of illness prevention on the top of curing of disease. So when you ask us, the type of things we provide can be exercise type of services, like taking large group of elderly people going out walking as an exercise, Tai Chi class, which is very popular among Chinese as well as the general public. Our hepatitis B screening, vaccination and treatment clinic actually won a major NHS award. I think we are probably the only Chinese charity that won a mainstream NHS health and social care award because of that particular service. And
what was that award?
It's called the NHS Health and Social Care Award. We won that at the end of 2010. Because that award normally is given to NHS organization, like an NHS organization, like a hospital or particular service that do particularly well for the population or the community. But we joined force with a local NHS organization, which is a sexual health clinic, and together we provided this service and we won this major award.
And can you talk specifically about the gambling counselling you do and why that's necessary?
We have counselling service. We don't deliberately advertise it as gambling counselling service. So anyone can come and approach us and say, I'm really upset, I'm depressed, can I talk to your counsellor? We have 4 counsellors, so out of the 4 counsellors, 2 speaks Mandarin and 2 speaks Cantonese. And one of them is a supervisor as well. So people do come and approach us about problem gambling issues. And sometimes it is the gambler himself or herself, and sometimes it is the family members. But we are just now trying to re-establish a more specific counselling, gambling counselling service, because we have asked GamCare, which is a national organisation, to help problem gambler to train 3 of our counsellors to upgrade their own knowledge about the issue of problem gambling. So maybe early next year, we will actually have this established. So people go to GamCare that don't speak English well. If they're Chinese, they want to see a Chinese-speaking counsellor, then GamCare will refer these Chinese-speaking clients to us next year.
And I know that other people in the Chinese community have spoken about gambling as an issue. Do you mind giving some background into your understanding of it?
I think Chinese as a whole, I think culturally, gambling is very acceptable. I mean, in the past, even when I was young, during Spring Festival or Chinese New Year's time, the whole family play some type of card games or dice and whatever, because it is during celebration time we all play some type of gambling games anyway. So to start with, it is a social thing rather than something that people just want to win big money, because they just look upon it as game. But then if you look at what's happening in the Chinese population here in the UK, not long ago, really the catering trade is the main trade for the Chinese workers. And you can imagine when you finish work at 11 or 12, when the shop closed, the restaurant closed, what can you do? Some of the people might not have a family to go back to. So in a cold winter day, the best place is to go to a casino. It's nice and warm, it's sociable, they can have a free drink, and they can talk to friends, and they gamble. But I can see it is more and more of an issue these days. If you look at the situation in Chinatown now, I mean, within half-mile radius of London Chinatown, there are more than 30 gambling establishments. When I said establishment, that obviously includes some of the larger casinos as well as bookie shops. If you walk into some of these casinos, look at the people who are actually playing. They're mainly Chinese-looking people, Asian, Oriental, Chinese, playing the game.
So do you think the Hippodrome opening a few years ago?
Not even a few years ago. I think Hippodrome's only opened about a year ago. Yeah.
Do you think that perhaps didn't do anything to help the situation?
I wouldn't say helping, or I think casino is here for business basically. I mean, you at the moment the government are quite relaxed about people particularly opening, bookie shops. Casino, you need support from the local community before you can open. Obviously, before they open this new casino, they must have already got quite a lot of support from the local Chinese people, or they either sign a petition supporting the establishment of this new casino. Even before Hippodrome, as you know, we already got quite a few established casino used by the Chinese in Chinatown.
And can you give an outline on some of the other services that you run, for example, the advice helpline?
We have bilingual doctor surgery, which practice Western medicine. We have TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, Tai Chi class. We have lots of health events. We set up health event, awareness event, send doctors out to give talk. Some of the event is a whole day. If we go to Manchester, say, to set up a cancer awareness day, so we link up with some of our partners in Manchester, and they recruit the people to come and attend the event and help us to set up the venue and the lunch, for instance. We set one up a couple of years ago in Manchester, and we had the mayor of Manchester City came in to open the day, and the morning was all talk about health related talk, and in the afternoon is we set up different type of stalls to enhance people's knowledge of different type of health check, from checking cholesterol level, testing the blood pressure, measuring the blood pressure, BMI, you must have heard of body mass index. And after people check the blood pressure, for instance, if they worry about it, they can talk to some of our doctors there privately in a special area that's cut out so people can actually get some consultation from a doctor. So we do an awful lot of outreach work, but the most exciting things that's being developed at the moment is a new project that we're going to launch in January next year. We're talking about less than a month from now, which is a pan-London-wide Chinese dementia and Alzheimer's awareness and support project. It's quite a long title, but what we're trying to do is to help people who particularly suffer from early sign of dementia. So we will help the carers, the family members, the carers, upgrade their knowledge how to care about people who suffer from early dementia. And we will actually set up some type of maybe Chinese style dementia cafe, so these people can actually come to this particular center, network center we set up. And we like to tie up with local Chinese community center. We won't deliberately hire a place and say, this is our center. So we already started talking to various Chinese community center across London. Say we might set one in the north, one in the south, one in the east, and so on, one in central London. And then these people can actually go to this networking center and meet each other. So the people who suffer from early dementia will be have a lot more knowledge on how to actually keep the mind active. The more you challenge their mind, the slow is the deterioration of this illness. Because as you know, so far, even today, there's no cure. There's no drug that can cure dementia. There's only one way. Once people get dementia, it only go downhill. But there's a lots of way to slow and slow down that deterioration. And this is what we're trying to do. And we all train some volunteer. If you know of volunteer that want to join our project, we'll train them up to be dementia friends, so they can go and visit the family members. They can go and visit these people and talk to them.
And what are some of the community centres that you have good ties with?
I don't know whether there's anyone that told you, because in year 2001, after I joined the Chinese National Health Living Centre, I also set up an organisation called the London Chinese Community Network. and I was the founding member as well as the chair of London Chinese Community Network. So a lot of the Chinese Community Centre across London, including Chinese school, faith groups, were member of the network, but unfortunately the Home Office funding of this network finished. So middle of this year, actually only this year, the trustee decided to close the network. So we don't have this community network anymore. But I know because of the national, the Chinese National Health Religion Centre had to work with everybody anyway, not just Sheffield, not just Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, you name it. We work with all sorts of Chinese community centre and organisation, including faith group. I mean, only very recently, in Hammersmith, 2 months ago, we set up a Sunday Cancer Awareness Day in Hammersmith Chinese Church. So 80 people turn up to that occasion. So we work with anybody. I said to you earlier on before, we look at ourselves as a specialist organisation rather than a generalist. We don't provide luncheon club, for instance. We don't have big Chinese TV that people can go and watch Chinese TV. We rarely do outing, for instance, or trips to different parts of the world. Maybe go to France or Spain and so. But when it comes to health, we work with many Chinese community centres.
Do you think that the London Chinese Community Network was helpful for groups interacting?
Yes. When I came in the year 2000, I found that a lot of the Chinese community centres are doing their own things. They never consult each other, and they rarely talk to each other. So it started off, the Chinese community centres manager or director just set ourselves a little network, very informal, maybe once every 3 months. Go to Chinese restaurants, sit together and have some dim sum and talk to each other, update each other, what's happening, what are the centres offering. I mean, financial resources are quite scarce anyway, so it's no good to repeat the same type of services that people just basically, if they can do it even within Westminster. There are 2 relatively large Chinese community centres within. We don't consider ourselves as one of them, but there are 2 Chinese community centres within Westminster. So it's not right for the 2 centres to offer exactly the same thing, is it? So if they're going to offer something, there should be something. All right, I'm not saying that they have to be different, but it's better to have some overlaps, but also offering something to fill the gaps. That's why in year 2000, a few of these managers decided to work together and say, look, Eddie, let's apply funding from the Home Office to set up a Chinese community network. So with the lead from, it used to be an organisation called Chinese in Britain Forum. Chinese in Britain Forum actually applied to the Home Office for the funding. We got the funding, then we set up this project, and eventually this project became independent and became a registered charity. So it was a company limited by guarantee as well as a registered charity.
And so it was successful.
It was successful. We've been employing something like averaging 3 to 4 staff in the network, and we had a director. We had a research officer within the network. We have admin support and everything, and lots of the Chinese community set manager and director were trustees of this network.
And back to this centre. Who is it that tends to use the services that you offer?
In the past, I would say mainly first-generation migrants from Hong Kong and the New Territories, because they are getting old, English language skill is not great. So they come and ask us to help, or seek help. We either, if they come and see our bilingual doctor surgery on Sunday, our doctor will provide some checkup for them, do the diagnosis. If they feel that they need to be referred back to GP for further check-up in the hospital, our doctor will write a letter for them to take it back to the GPs. But these days, because of the new migrants, I think younger people now come and use our center. When I say younger people, they may be in their 20s, all the way in the 30s. They are new migrants from China. These people tend to come and attend our hepatitis B clinic, particular hepatitis B clinic. I don't know whether you know this piece of statistic. In the UK, only 0.6 to 0.8% of the general population got hepatitis B. But in our first year of our clinic, we did an analysis. 17.8% of the people who come and see us got hepatitis B. Now, if you look at that as a comparison, a ratio, as Chinese, you have 20 times higher chance to get the hepatitis B virus than the general population. The government and NHS is not doing very much about it because they don't think it is an issue because of the low percentage of people who got this virus. But for the Chinese, it is a real issue. And hepatitis B is 100 times more infectious than HIV, 100 times. So if you're not careful, if you eat with a group of Chinese in a restaurant and you don't use a serving spoon or anything, if someone who got hepatitis B have a cut lips, for instance, and just use his chopstick or spoon straight into the dish and pick something up, and he will pass it on to you in no time. So we've done awareness program, training, talk, workshop, make people aware about the risk. So now our clinic, we no longer need to advertise. People automatically come through word of mouth. They come to our clinic and register with us to see our nurses and so on. So back to your original question about the group of people, I would say children probably will be the only few children to come to see us because their parents will take the children to go to see their GPs. But Chinese children is another group that might come and see us. It is an issue that about Chinese sex education in China. Lots of the new arrival from China have very little knowledge about contraception and prevention of producing babies and so on. So we every now and then see these people come in and seek help for abortion, which is a bit late. If they've done the proper contraception procedure properly, they shouldn't need the abortion. But the problem is a lot of these young people don't want the families to know about this. So some of them just go to see some Chinese doctors who prescribe herbal medicine and trying to get rid of the baby. And sometimes it becomes disastrous and they become very, very ill. So by the time they come and see us, we have to refer them to the hospital for proper examination.
And how many users do you have a year in the centre?
When we were running the 3 centres across the country, we must have seen 10,000 a year, probably a bit more. These days, we could only do outreach work. I mean, as I said, we would go to Manchester and set up a health awareness day. Then 170 people turn up in occasions like this. I would still say that will be easily 3,000-4,000 a year that people will get benefit from us directly, in the terms of even enhancing their knowledge on a particular health issues. I mean, before you came in, I showed you a little NHS health supplement. a bilingual one. On one side, on one side is in Chinese, on the other side is in English, for instance. NHS commissioned us to produce that document, and we printed 10,000 of that. We distribute nearly all of them now to different parts of UK. So if you say, depending on how you look at beneficiaries, I mean, if you look at people who for instance, receive one of their supplements, then we can still can say 10,000 people receive that supplement, because they can even pass it along to other friends or family members.
So does the centre help to produce that?
We actually produce that. We written the English version first and send it back to NHS for their approval. So they have their own examination, they check everything, all the facts and everything is accurate. When they approve the English version, we translated the English version into Chinese, and then we send everything back to NHS, and NHS did all the graphic design and layout, and they did the printing, but they had to rely on us to do the distribution to our own network across the country.
Is that a one-off, or is it?
No, we produce booklets, depending on who commissioned us to do things. For that particular one, because it's specifically on cancer, yes, it is a one-off health supplement on cancer for the Chinese. But although we serve the Chinese community, but they're increasingly, I mentioned to you about the healthy cooking menu, the healthy cooking options. It's really, the traditional Chinese medicine, the Tai Chi class, is for the general public. And we advise the government as well. I mean, different departments, whether it's the Home Office, whether it is the NHS, Department of Health, NICE, which is an organization that monitor whether the NHS is delivering good quality stuff to the community, as an example. We sit in many of their board to advise the minister as well, health minister. Yeah.
And in London, where do you use it? What boroughs do your users come from?
Sorry?
In London, your users, what boroughs do they come from?
What borough?
Boroughs. So whereabouts, like Westminster, Barnet?
Oh, boroughs, sorry.
Boroughs.
Okay, which boroughs? We are a national organisation. We don't have any restricted district that we have to work within. So, like for instance, if our funding is from the Department of Health, there's no boundary. I mean, we like our dementia project because it's funded by City Bridge Trust, which is a pan-London-wide charitable fund, and they don't say that you have to work within any boroughs. So we work across London basically, and nationally, obviously. Yeah.
And are there any other specific health needs that Chinese people in the UK have? You mentioned hepatitis B.
Mentioned hepatitis B, but then there are issues that particularly I would say apply to Chinese. You mentioned about gambling issues. I think is a lot of Chinese do face that problem. Smoking is another one. I would say a lot of new migrants, particularly those who just migrated from China, they do smoke quite heavily, some of them. And one of the services that we're going to do next year, which we've got some funding for, is to help Chinese to reduce the amount of cigarettes they take daily, or even help them to smoke if we can. Yeah.
And with hepatitis B, why is it that it affects Chinese people more?
It's hereditary. Basically, it's something that passed down from the mother to the child mainly. But in the past, in China, they don't automatically provide a vaccination. So a lot of the new migrants now in their 30s, 2030s, late 20s, 30 do carry the virus when they develop develop the illness at the end. Yeah. And it's sexual health disease, as you know. I mean, if you use a sex worker, you pass on the sex worker sometimes by chance pass it on to a client. So you've got to be careful once you know that you either have hepatitis B or carrier. So if the husband come and we find out that the husband got hepatitis B, we automatically ask the husband to contact his wife and say, come to be checked as well. That is, and vice versa. Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the projects that the centre's working on. How successful are the projects, and what ways do you have of measuring their success?
Basically, when we apply for funding, we also set ourselves a set of outcomes that we have to meet. Now, funder will only give us the money to do a project or set up a service if they feel that those outcomes can be met, and they are good outcomes. So every single project or services we provide, we will monitor ourselves to make sure that we meet the outcomes and outputs. The output may be a number. I mean, we might say that we will set up 6 health awareness workshops on this particular subject, and each workshop will have 50 people attending it, and we want to. So each workshop we will have evaluation form and questionnaire at the end of the workshop, and pass it on to people who attended the workshop. And this is how we assess whether we are successful or not successful. And I will touch wood. I mean, so far, all the services and project we've done are successful.
That's great. And what is the centre's relationship like with other Chinese community centres?
Good, I hope. I mean, obviously you have to ask them. But as far as I'm concerned, I think most people, when I ring up and say, would you like to work together on certain things, most people will be very happy to do it.
And do you think it's notable that this centre is able to offer much more specialised services than one of the local community centres is?
Yes, I think I mentioned this before, because a lot of the local centre probably would not have a focus on health. Or they might have a focus on, they might invite a local doctor in to deliver a health talk once a month or something like this, or once every 2 weeks. But our centre is very health orientated, that every week, say for Sunday, you come to our centre, you can see a Western medically trained doctor, a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, a practitioner, or join our Tai Chi sessions. We have 2 sessions every Sunday here. So the choice is there for people to do what they like, basically, that have something to do with improving the health, or come in and discuss with us about an issue. So our counselling service is also very popular as well, because our counsellors speaks their language, and knowing their thinking, appreciating their culture, their upbringing, it make the treatment a lot more appropriate.
And having kind of spoken to people in some of the community centres around London, one of the things that seems to restrict them is funding and how it's tied to their immediate locality. So is the Chinese National Healthy Living Centre one of the few Chinese groups that actually has that kind of national remit?
I wouldn't say we are the only one, because there are a few groups also claim that they're national. But I think we are really, because in the past we have 3 centres in different locations, we probably is the only center that actually established regional centers in different parts of the UK. I mean, some group will say to you that they have outreach work and so on different part of the. This is what exactly we are doing now, but I don't think there are any Chinese community center they have set up regional offices or branch office.
Do you think if the funding was to return, you'd be interested in resetting up regional branches, or is the outreach work better in your opinion?
No, I would prefer to have local branch being set up, local office being set up, because outreach is okay, but it's expensive. Because if you send, say for instance, I gave you an example before going to Belfast or County Antrim for train people for a week. You have to pay for the hotel, you have to pay for the flight and everything. Now you can imagine if you have a office in Belfast, for instance, then you save all that money because you will have local people delivering service to the local community. So it will be a lot more cost effective in the long run, and you save a lot of time to deliver whatever you want to deliver.
And what is the centre's relationship like with the NHS?
Very good. That's why we got quite a bit of funding from the NHS. That if we don't have good relationship with them and they don't trust us that can deliver good services, they won't continue to fund us. Touch wood, I mean, we so far every year we get some funding from them.
And has any of that changed with the restructuring of the NHS?
The NHS is getting poorer, as you know. There are lots of restructuring among that itself. So funding become more scarce and more difficult to get. But we can only do our best, is it? So these days we are trying to get more consultancy work, but by basically charging private business or commercial company like pharmaceutical company to advise them on certain things, then we charge them a fee, and that fee will automatically pump it back to help the running cost of the center. So we do more consultancy work these days, but without the consultancy work, it will be tough for us to keep going, because the office here, as you know, our center is right at the middle of the West End, which is like gold dust. Offices is like gold dust here, and it's very expensive. So to help us to pay the rent and the service charge, the only way is to bring extra money into the center. I mean, the center do involve with various other organizations as well. Like for instance, we host the BME Health Forum. I've been appointed the chair of BME Health Forum because we host the forum. The forum, BME Health Forum is more than Chinese, obviously. It's black minority ethnic group, from Africans to Indian, Pakistanis, you name it, we have them. Somalians and Moroccans, because we host this forum, and they actually contribute a bit of money towards the running costs of the center as well.
Okay. And so when was it that you started moving towards consultancy as a way to kind of make money for the center?
We rely on doing more research work, because if we become a partner of a university or research institute, mainstream research institution, then if they can get big money, big research money, like $1 million or $2 million, that size of money, if we can help them out to deliver the Chinese bits of their work, then we get income, and that income will help us. And consultancy is good rates. I mean, from my experience, pharmaceutical companies do have money, and sometimes they ask me to give talk on the international conference, like in Asia, in Hong Kong, and so on, and they pay us reasonably well. So I'm not saying that people need to rely on consultancy to bring in the money, but I would consider consultancy is definitely something that people should look into to bring some money in to help the running costs of the centre.
And you mentioned university research.
Yeah.
What universities have you worked with in the past?
Oh, we work with quite a few. Even now we work through Queen Mary at the moment on a project on how to come up with a scheme that can screen minority ethnic group of people in the UK that got hepatitis B or more chance to get hepatitis B. So we are still working with them at the moment. And that project lasts for 3 years. So we will play the part on focusing on within the Chinese because they know of a record already of how we deliver our services on hepatitis B.
And what's the centre's relationship like with the Federation of Traditional Chinese Medicine Practitioners, Association of Traditional Chinese Medicine, and the British Acupuncture Council, so like TCM?
Very well. I mean, I don't know whether all these people have been working on the setting up regulation for traditional Chinese medicine. And this room that you're interviewing me in now actually had this various group of people sat around that square table behind you once every 2 months and try to set up some type of regulatory body to control the quality of delivery of traditional Chinese medicine. So I worked with Mike Farrer in those days. Mike Farrer was the chief executive of British Acupuncture Council, and he chaired that meeting, and I brought along a few people came in, including, as you said, members from the Association of Traditional Chinese Medicine. And we spent quite a long time discussing about this issue in this room, and also in several occasions, because I was the one that helped or the founding member of the Chinese in Britain APPG, All-Party Parliamentary Group. I invited one of the discussion group is on traditional Chinese medicine. So I invited a lot of the practitioners as well as the people running all these association and federation to come in to the House of Commons to discuss about these issues. And we, every Sunday, as I told you before, we have the traditional Chinese medicine clinic, and we don't actually supply our own practitioner. Our practitioner come from Salle, which is a quite a large TCM practice based in Archway, and they did tie up with Middlesex University before, but I think now they are a bit separated. But the practitioner we work here on Sunday actually normally work for them. Yeah.
So the centre's playing a role in kind
a play of we did spend quite a bit of time to try to get the different group of Chinese medicine group to work together, but the probably is a lot of these organizations have their own way of looking at things, and if people have different agenda and could not actually come with a consensus, it is very difficult for people to work together. So far, even now, after 10 years, we haven't actually got a body yet, a government control body, or even a publicly accepted self-regulatory body that control the quality of traditional Chinese medicine in this country. Not yet, anyway. We hope that it will happen one day.
Do you think that there's the potential there for it to actually happen?
I hope so. I mean, the potential is always there, but it is. I think people's mindset need to change a bit. If they are too rigid and not flexible enough to accommodate, then it is not going to happen.
And in the centre, would you say that Western medicine or traditional Chinese medicine is more popular amongst users?
Western medicine, yeah. I mean, the traditional Chinese medicine is only a small area of our work, but our work are evidence-based, and Western medicine is evidence-based. We know that doing certain type of things will help you. For instance, to help people to stop smoking, apart from making them believe that it is good for them and it's good for their health and reduce their risk of getting lung cancer, but also using those patches, nicotine patches, that were actually been tested before, that they actually help a smoker to reduce their smoke.
So do you think it's important to kind of research some of the research that is being done by these groups? Do you think that's important to give TCM some kind of evidence-based backing to it?
I don't think that there are that many research done yet by Western academic organization. Maybe there are quite a lot of things done in China, but how acceptable are the findings? How portable are they from China into Western country? I don't know. I think more research need to be done by Western academic organization to ensure that it make it more acceptable and more evidence-based. I mean, for instance, I can't remember which university now. Some group have actually spent quite a lot of time, years, to test the effect of ginseng. I mean, people always talk about ginseng, how good it is and so on. And until it is actually proven under proper research condition that ginseng is good for X, Y, Z, then it is all very much a belief thing. You either believe it or not believing it. Yeah.
And how's the provision of medical care for Chinese people changed over the years in the UK?
Changed there.
How has it changed over the years in the UK?
What, the Chinese people?
Yeah, but
the view
medical
about,
care for them.
Well, the medical care.
Mm.
Are you talking about the mainstream services, or you talk about what we are supplying?
Well, both really.
Both, okay. The Chinese community has changed throughout the years, and now there are a lot more Mandarin speakers now. I think the Mandarin speaking new migrants' way of looking at health, the concept, is quite different from the original migrants, first generation migrants from Hong Kong and the Far East. When I said Far East, obviously include Malaysia and Singapore and so on. As far as mainstream services is concerned, I think in general the Chinese community still have an issue of getting access to the right services. And some of them may be language issues. It could be a barrier that because they can't communicate. If they can't read a leaflet that is printed in English, asking you to do a health check, which is free, then you wouldn't go because you don't know this exists, this service exists. So we as a centre obviously become acting as a middleman, and we will help the government to promote their free screening services. Screening services is very important. I mean, you can imagine breast cancer, people get it because they miss and not doing the screening. So we actually can now tell people, if you go and see the GP, the GP can actually refer you to hospital for free screening. There are lots of screening that you can do these days, including men's health. If you think that you have an issue, you can get free health check. And a lot of Chinese these days, even now, do not know this type of services exist.
So your role in a way is to facilitate a language barrier.
Facilitate signposting. Signposting is a big part of our work. And if people come in with a letter from the GP, with a letter from the hospital, saying that you are advised to come and do this and that. And normally, if we don't exist, for instance, they might say, oh, just put it on the side and then miss the appointment date. But they know that we are here, so they bring the letter over. We will then ring the hospital up and say, Mr. Chen will come to your appointment. Can you also book a Cantonese interpreter or Mandarin speaking interpreter for him or her? Yeah.
And do you get to assist with any of the specific cases in the centre?
You mean actually sending people out with?
I mean, your role as director.
I don't get too involved with the detail because I don't have really to make sure that everything's running properly. It is a big job. Getting funding in, reporting to the funder, helping to monitor and do the evaluation of a project is already using up a lot of my time. But if staff or project workers or project manager or coordinator have an issue on specific case and they want to discuss, then they come and talk to me, yes. I do spend time on specific, but not obviously interfere with people's work. People don't want me to interfere with their work anyway. So I think it's bad policy to actually every day go and ask your own colleagues and say, look, tell me about this case. It's no need. They will automatically come and see me if they feel that it should be referred to me and discuss further.
And how many staff work at the centre?
Including sessional workers, because we can't say employ as a Western doctor and sitting here and waiting for things to happen. So we have a rota of doctors and counsellors. So 26 workers at the moment. We may increase it by 2 more. Yeah, we will anyway, actually, because of the dementia project. On the we already employ 2 people to job share the coordinator role for the dementia project from January. So we should be 28 soon.
And do you have any volunteers with the centre?
We have about 10 active volunteers. I mean, obviously we work with a lot more, but when I say active, are people really come and help out. I mean, like the gentleman you met earlier on upstairs, he is a volunteer who involved with our fortnightly, Walking for Health project. So he every morning before the walk, go out to China and buy some Chinese buns. So just wrap the buns into paper bags, and then give each walker a Chinese bun. So he's helped out with the walk. So each volunteer do certain things. Yeah.
Okay. And what background do the volunteers and staff tend to be from?
There's a big variation there. Some are graduates who's looking for jobs but wanting something to fill their time in. Some are like that gentleman that you met earlier on who's retired a few years ago, and finding that coming and do something is better than sitting at home and do nothing. Some are professional people, like if we're going to run a health awareness day or health fair, then we want a doctor to talk on a specific topic, then we will invite some of the doctors who volunteer for that day to give a talk on a specific topic. Yes. So we don't have a particular group of volunteer. We bring in volunteer as we see fit, but we can always have a small pool of volunteer that we can call upon, and some of them might get invited to sit in a project steering group, and they are volunteer. They don't get paid to sit in a project steering group, but they can provide experience and knowledge on how to improve, ensure the project is being run smoothly.
What do you feel the role of the centre is in the Chinese community?
Improving the lifestyle of the Chinese community is our key role. Yeah, if we can achieve to make people more aware of how to look after themselves better and to live a healthier lifestyle, that is quite an important thing.
And what significant events have there been over the years?
Significant event is probably the 5 years that we've been running the national project between year 2000 and 2005, because we'll cover much bigger area, and at one stage we're delivering about 40 different projects and services in a year across England. And that is significant, really, to deliver 40 different projects and services across the country in one go for 5 years.
That's impressive.
But we're not saying that what we are doing is not important. What we are doing now is also very, very important. But the coverage is not as big because there's a limitation for how far people can travel to come to us in London. Although we have people traveling from Manchester and Swansea, as an example, Portsmouth, to our hepatitis B clinic. But that costs them money. Yeah.
In terms of replacing the centres you had, for example, in Manchester, is there any alternative, or is it just that you would go now to Manchester every so often and do something?
No, we don't just go to Manchester. For instance, the Department of Health funded a project on cancer, the cancer program. Went to 10 different cities in England to deliver our work, as far north as Newcastle, as south. We went to Southampton. Yeah, so we cover a large area by doing, depending on the funding, obviously. If the funding, you said it before, if the funding is very restrictive in a borough, for instance, then we can only do it within a borough. But we don't do. We'll always try to look at either Pan London or national funding anyway.
I'm just going to go on there to talk a bit more about your personal work experience.
Okay.
So what is your role in the community centre?
I'm the director of the health centre, not a community centre. We never run this centre as a community centre because we don't have the facility and room to run events as such.
And can you describe a typical day?
Typical day, every day is different. I mean, some days we have clinic, some days we take people out walking, some days, one of the things that we do every day is a drop-in service. People come in, knock on our door, wanting us to translate, a letter from the NHS or from their own GP. GP, when patients seeing GP and couldn't communicate with the GP or the community nurse there, they ring our number and we'll do the interpretation on the spot. As you hope you remember, before you came in our centre, that's the walk-in centre, the NHS walk-in centre in the front. Now, if they have a Chinese person that come in and couldn't communicate with them, they automatically come in and knock on the door and get one of our staff to go over to the walk-in centre to do the interpretation for them. Not just on the registration bit, also on the consultation bit. So that when the nurse see the Chinese-speaking patient, and our staff will do the interpretation. When we publish, sometimes we publish article, publish booklet, leaflet. Later on, I can actually give you a few leaflets produced. Yeah. So updating the website is another important thing. If we have a new project we want to promote to people, we have to update our website. So each day is different, but there are things that's common daily because of the of the signposting service and the interpreting service.
Has the centre got a good relationship with the walk-in centre next door then?
Very much so, yeah. Because that's the only way that they can communicate with a Chinese-speaking patient. I mean, there are Chinese speakers that come in that speak some type of English, but they couldn't communicate with them properly. They always come and see us. I remember not long ago, probably 10 months ago, there was a Chinese lady outside, got stabbed by someone. She crawled into the walk-in centre. There was a whole pool of blood on the floor, and nobody could talk to her. So it was major panic, and the ambulance wasn't here yet then. So the nurse in the walk-in centre just rushed in and said, Eddie, come, and can you send a staff to come and help us out and ask what happened to this Chinese lady? And she could hardly talk. She had a big, deep stab wound in her stomach. Someone had put a knife into her stomach, and people were so scared. They were sitting there, suddenly see this Chinese lady came in with a pool of blood on the floor. So we have good relationship.
What hours do you work at the centre?
Fairly long hours. An average day for me starts at 7 and finish at 5. But sometimes I do go out to some evening functions and meetings. So it's long hours because we open 6 days a week as well. So quite frequently I have to also do the duty work on Sunday, because each Sunday, apart from the receptionist and the bilingual speaking doctor, we also have a key staff at the centre on Sunday. So I do get into that rota, maybe once every 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Yeah.
And what challenges do you face in your job?
Challenge. I think most people will tell you it is funding and the economy at the moment of the country. The country, as you know, is going through a hard time, and there's funding cuts everywhere. And when it applied to the statutory sector, it also applied to the voluntary sector. So to work hard and secure funding to keep the centre going, at least delivery going, is hard. It is a challenge. Yeah.
You say that's one of the big challenges working in healthcare at the moment.
It is, yes. It is. It is.
And what's the best thing about your job?
Best things. Seeing people appreciating what we do is very rewarding. We can actually see that as an indication when during a festive season, people sometimes bring in even some homemade Chinese cakes or buns. It's not a big thing. It is not really expensive thing, anything related to money. But if these people in Chinese New Year's or Christmas bring in something that they make from home and give it to us, we feel that our work is being appreciated. Yes.
And what's the worst thing about your job?
The worst thing? It's hard to say, is it? I mean, the worst thing I would say is the long hours that I put in. Sometimes I feel that I'm sacrificing certain element of my life that I should put more time in. I think to get a balance, one should look at life as more like a triangle. There's three pin support there. One is work, the other one is social element, like going to see friends, being able to visit relatives, and the third one is family. So I feel that the most ideal type of life for any person is to have the things cut out that you can equally split your time to those three areas. But because of this work, it is a relatively small organization. Although I told you about sessional workers number, but key workers within the center is only just over maybe 6 or 7. And we all have to put in quite lots of work. And being the director, I have to put in even more because I want to make sure that the center will stay in good health. I mean, you can imagine in mid-2005, actually May 2005 to be exact, when the big lottery money ran out, there's no more big money coming in. To keep this going and continue to get enough money to pay the rent and the service charge of the center here is hard work. It has been hard work, and it is still hard work. So it's word, when you said words, it is. So my triangular philosophy about life is not that balanced.
And how do you try and balance it? Is there anything you do?
I try my best to take holiday, obviously. And when I'm on holiday, I will spend more time on the other two areas.
And is there anything you particularly enjoy for recreation?
I play golf when I got time, yeah. Golf, I feel it is a sport, although lots of people don't consider it a sport. It's quite a challenging sport, and you don't need to use a lot of strength, and you can continue to do it even when you're older. And it's very socializing. I mean, you can talk to people while you're playing. After playing, you can talk to people, you can have lunch with them, you can have a pint of beer with them. It is good, yes. This is what I do when I got time to do.
And just some of the other jobs and roles that you've had, can you tell us a little bit more about the joint venture that you had?
The joint
venture.
What, before I joined this place? Yeah. After Tiananmen Square, there were very few people were allowed to get into China. So I think in year 1991, 92, I think, 91, 92, our company had a chance to set up some type of exhibition in Beijing, in the International Exhibition Center next to the zoo in Beijing. I went in to represent the company to show what us can do. I mean, we were one of the rather, I would say, medium-sized but rather famous engineering consultancy, British engineering consultancy in the UK. So I went in there, set up the store with another director. So two of us show them what we can do here, and then we invite people to come to the UK to look at our work. So the Chinese government, whether it's provisional government or central government, from the Ministry of Communication, find our work actually exporting to their country. So then the Hebei government, Shijiazhuang, asked us to set up a joint venture company with their design institute in Shijiazhuang, and we then started talking to the provisional government first, and everything then was supported, approved by the provisional government. Then we submitted our application to the central government in Beijing, which is the Ministry of Communications. And that process actually took 3 years. before we got registered. It was in the early days of developing joint venture, because during that part of Chinese development, there were very few Western countries decided to set up joint venture in China. So our joint venture is 51 and 49. So 51% belongs to the local government, and 49 belongs to a British company. And we were the only British joint venture company there then on highway engineering. We had Danish one set up there, we have German one set up there, but we were the only Chinese one set up there. So then the World Bank accepted us to be the supervisor for the construction of the first proper expressway in China, which is the Expressway 107, which is expressway linking Beijing to Guangdong. And we did part of the northern bit supervision. And then the Asian Development Bank decided to fund the 102. Expressway 102 is from Beijing to Nandaihe, Qinghuangdao, which is going from the capital to the eastern coast of China. That's the area that where all the tip-top Chinese government official go for their summer holidays. They all have their villas there, and it was fun. So we did the supervision of 102, Expressway 102, and part of 107. Then China then was really right at the beginning of the infrastructure development, and we got in there.
So what was your role in that project?
I was the director in a joint venture company. So I had to go into China. I told you before, I used to spend 5 to 6 months every year overseas. And China did use up a lot of my time, because I have to go to Philippines to meet with the Asian Development Bank. Went to Thailand to work with on the Bangkok Mass Transit Railway as well. Yeah.
And were you involved in that project? Within the company, how come you were picked?
Which project you're talking about? Are you talking about the highway project in China?
Yeah.
We already set up the joint venture company. Obviously, the first bit of the expressway is actually run from Beijing to Shijiazhuang. Yeah. Now, the local government obviously like that project being supervised by their own people. Yeah. Or the contractor will get on with the supervisor. So because they set up a joint venture company with us, yeah, they feel that, right, let my company work on the supervision. So we brought in obviously Western qualified charter engineers to do the supervision. So when before the people got in there, we have to find accommodation. We will make sure that they are well looked after. They will have the right type of jeeps that they can go to do the supervision properly. So it was hard work, and my role was to do with linking up with all the local support to ensure that our engineers, while they are working there, will be able to work happily. Because some of them just took the wife over. You can imagine when the wife are not working, they kind of just sit at home day in and day out, watch television. So we must have enough people to look after the wives as well. Yeah.
And can I also ask about the all-party parliamentary group?
I would say it probably went back more than 10 years now. There was a all-party parliamentary group on China trade, but there wasn't any parliamentary group that helped out and looked after the British Chinese. I don't know whether you know of a person called Thomas Chen. Thomas Chen and myself said to each other, wouldn't it be nice that we set up a all-party parliamentary group for the British Chinese, to look after the British Chinese affair. So I approached an MP then from Hendon. His name is Andrew Dismal. He was the MP in Hendon. So 3 of us sat together and set up a meeting in the House of Commons and invited some of the people who are interested in Chinese, basically, in China, together. And we basically set up the group, selected the chair. The chair was Andrew Dismal. The vice chair from memory was Keith Vass, the Indian MP based in Leicester. And then we have all group of people, different MP, including minister, came in and joined us. And each time, we used to meet something like once every 3 months, and each meeting set a certain type of theme. Like, for instance, if the theme is on education, we would invite the education minister here to make a speech, and there's followed up by a question and answer session and a debate session. If the theme is on immigrants, then we will invite the immigration minister in, and so on health. We've done so different things on health, education, immigrants, you name it, we did it. So that group was quite effective and generated quite a lot of debate. Lots of Chinese media was find it quite useful as well. They actually turn up to write article and report it on our meetings. But then, unfortunately, Andrew Dismal lost his seat, and then nobody actually picked that up and continues to run the group. I think there's a lot of change now because China is becoming quite an important nation, and different people will automatically do something for China and the Chinese.
But whilst it was going, you think that it had some success? And
it was successful, yes. I would say it generate a lot of media interest. I think it is important that if we want to discuss an issue that affect, including obviously affect the people in general, but particularly affecting the Chinese. I don't know whether you remember, a few years back there was an issue about illegal migrants, and people send police into Chinatown and basically knock on the door of restaurant and trying to pick up the illegal migrants and so on. And we use that occasion as a base for us to raise a meeting with the immigration minister.
And how did that meeting go?
Sorry?
How did the meeting go?
It went well, but then at the end of the day, people can only change policy if the minister can actually push it through the parliament and get enough support. Sometimes even the minister will not get enough support to action anything. But I mean, there's so many things that happen now. We did that for a few years, and I found that it was important that I just set something up to help the British Chinese, because in those days everyone was just looking into trade, developing trade with China and so on. And then later on, because of that, we thought that it would be a good idea to set up some type of welfare assistance for the Chinese as well. So I linked up with the chair of the 48 Group Club, Stephen Perry, and set up the Chinese Welfare Trust 6 years ago. I don't know whether you heard of the Chinese Welfare Trust, which is a new organization which was set up 6 years ago. We are a registered charity, and and I also complemented by guarantee. I was the chair of the Chinese Welfare Trust for 6 years, because I thought after 6 years I should give people a chance to pick my work up and keep developing it. So I just stepped down a month ago, and now we have a joint chair set up to look after the Chinese Welfare Trust.
So what is it that group does?
The Chinese Welfare Trust the main aim is to help the British Chinese who are less fortunate. And the first mission, or the first flagship when we first set up, because the economy was better then, and you can get actually grant to develop homes. So at that stage, when we first set it up, we wanted to develop an extra care home to help the elderly Chinese in London who live in or around London. But the economy took a dip, so the government no longer provided the grants. So these days, we employ floating support workers to go to elderly Chinese home to help them, maybe fill in a form, to apply for housing benefit. It may do some shopping. It may even light bulb's gone, and the person cannot communicate with the housing association or the caretaker. Then the floating support worker will ring the caretaker and say, "Hey, send someone in. Something's leaking. Can you check it out to make sure that it's repaired?" So that person, that gentleman you met when you walk in, actually is a worker for the Chinese Welfare Trust. And I did introduce to you that he is a floating support worker for the Chinese Welfare Trust. And now he is attached to Soho Housing Association. So Soho Housing Association is in this area. So he comes in and see us quite often. Say, for instance, if one of the residents required a befriender to go and talk to them, then the Chinese National Healthy Living Center will arrange a volunteer befriender to go and talk to the elderly person. So it's all, if you look at the Chinese community in the UK, there are lots of relationships here. I mean, whether it is the British Chinese All-Party Parliamentary Group, the London Chinese Community Network, the Chinese Welfare Trust, the Healthy Living Center, or the BME Health Forum, because the relationship is there because I'm involved with all these little different groups, and so I try to get them all together and work together. If by working together you can actually use the resource more efficiently and more effectively. This is what I always want to achieve.
And the Chinese Welfare Centre, does it just deal
Welfare Trust.
Welfare Trust, sorry.
Yeah, Welfare Trust.
Does it just deal with elderly people?
No. But this is because it's a new group, it's a new charity. I mean, we have limited resource. We can't deal with everything. One of the things that we like to develop, the Chinese Welfare Trust, is become a funder to help Chinese groups. So we are the one that go out there to fundraise, put the money in the pool. So people who require urgent help can actually put in the application for some funding. Say, for instance, a small local Chinese community center is facing financial problem, might not be able to pay the rent for the next 6 months. If they don't pay the rent, the landlord will kick them out. Then they can apply, send an application to the Chinese Welfare Trust for some fund to it's a crisis. When they're in crisis, we're trying to provide them some support. But we haven't set this scheme up yet, but we're looking into it.
So your aim is to be almost a way to help fund the Chinese
it
community.
will be nice to be a funder, yes. So people, individual or group, can apply to seek help. when they really, really need it. I mean, not anyone just apply for, say, £100 to go down to the sea, to Brighton. We won't give that, obviously. But if it is something that is important to them, say if they who live in a rented property, if they don't pay the rent, the whole family, including the young children, will get kicked out of the house. Then they can ask the Chinese Welfare Trust to help.
Does the trust have a home anywhere?
No, the trust got a registered office in Shaftesbury Avenue, number 66, if I remember the number properly. If you go to number 66 in Shaftesbury Avenue, you see the Chinese Welfare Trust sign on it.
And who else is involved in it?
When I set this up with Stephen Perry, who is the chair of the 48 Group Club. One lunchtime, Stephen and I had a dim sum. That's just over 6 years ago now in Soho. We said to each other, wouldn't it be nice that we have the all-party parliamentary group. Wouldn't it be nice that we, the Chinese community, will have a charity that actually do something for the Chinese in needs, or the Chinese who are a bit more misfortunate than us. Then I said, who shall we invite to set this up? We thought that there are a lot of Chinese political groups. I mean, the Chinese Conservative Group, the Chinese Labour Group, the Chinese, the Lib Dem and so on. The Lib Dem wasn't even set up then, but we had a councillor that representing Lib Dem, yeah. So I went to talk to all the chairs belongs to all these different political groups. I said, you all have your own political agenda, obviously, but wouldn't it be nice that we use our political influence and leverage to set up an organization that if we, because of combined effort, doesn't matter which, each borough might be run by Labour, a borough might be run by, a council might be run by Lib Dem and so on. It doesn't matter. As long as we have that influence, we can go and knock on the door of the council and say, look, we have a Chinese representative of Labour here, sitting in as a trustee, would like to actually develop an elderly home here at your place. Can you support it? So that was the idea, but it's increasingly more and more difficult, because in the past, when we first set this idea up, any organisation gets 60% of the grant from central government. 20% will come from the housing association. And as Chinese Welfare Trust, we thought we just, as long as we can raise maybe 10%, and the housing association borrow the 10%, we can have a Chinese elderly home. But it didn't happen because of the losing of the 60%, and housing association found it increasingly more difficult to borrow that 10%. So that means the Chinese Welfare Trust have to raise 80% of the cost of the development, and we couldn't do that. So instead of still putting a lot of effort in developing these homes, the extra care home, which is the only first one in this country, there are shelter housing. Shelter housing, elderly Chinese can only move in if you prove that you are medically fit, you're healthy. You can look after yourself, you can buy your own food, you can cook your own food. But extra care home is for someone who needs a bit of extra care, including someone to go in and help them to cook their meals, help them to bath and have a shower. But now, reducing our ambitions, less ambitious, is to actually employing floating support workers. I think someone like Joe, you just met, is doing a great job. He's going around, even go and help disabled Chinese who couldn't go out and carry bottled water from Tesco, for instance. he went out to the supermarket and buy the water and carry them back into the home. You know, there are lots of things that floating support worker can do. As I said, repairing a fridge, television, it suddenly broke down and couldn't watch. Then Joe will ring electrician up and go and repair the television.
And what about the Great Wall Society?
The Great Wall Society got only 8 places there, and then there's no lift. If you are frail, you can't live there. And also, it can only accommodate 8 elderly people. So the limitation is there. So our ambitious development can accommodate 40 units. The needs there, we know the needs there, but we haven't got. It's extremely difficult now to develop. So we changed the direction a bit.
And just as another point, have you ever had any experience in treating Vietnamese Chinese?
We do. When you said Vietnamese Chinese, I would say Vietnamese Chinese that still speak Cantonese, because we work very closely with the Vietnamese mental health service. I know the director of that service quite well, Jack. And Jack knows that we have a counseling service here. So every time when Jack found that there is Vietnamese Chinese that needs help in counseling, he will refer these people to us. And when we were running the King's Funder project on mental health advocacy, Jack was actually sitting in our steering group. We ran the project for 3 years. And it was a successful project. If you look at our website, you can see the full report, evaluation report on mental health advocacy. Will tell you how effective advocacy is for the Chinese who suffer from mental health issues.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
Great.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I've probably said quite a lot.
Well, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank
It's
you.
been really great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.